Hello, friends, followers, and fellow realtors. Welcome to the Waves podcast created by the Highland Lakes Association of Realtors. We designed this podcast for realtors to help innovate, educate, and elevate their real estate practice, one ripple at a time. Our goal is to help navigate the waves of the industry and dive into local trends, topics, and beyond by interviewing experts that add value to our mission. Think of us as your proverbial life jacket to keep you afloat in these crazy times. We hope to make a splash in your day. Hello, folks. Matthew Butter here with the Waves podcast. I'm so glad to be back hosting this episode with you today. I know there's been some awesome hosts and guests who you haven't listened or watched any of those podcasts since last year when we first started. Go to YouTube, go to Spotify, take a listen. Great content. We had Christian Fletcher, Ellen Troxclair, a lot of amazing guests and hosts. So make sure to put that on your calendar while you're in the car, some windshield time. Today we have a really special guest. I'm so excited. We just had him in our community outreach committee. I'm the chairman of that committee. We call it the ComReach Committee. And part of our goal is to reach out to the community and give back to those who give so much to us. One of those organizations that gives to our community is the Boys and Girls Club of the Highland Lakes. So we have Mr. Bill Drake here. Bill, welcome.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here. The Highland Lakes Association of Realtors. Bill, tell us about your journey to be the executive director of the Highland Lakes Boys and Girls Club.
Well, I have had many different career or opportunities, but one of them that probably led to this was I was a teacher with the San Marcos School District for 10 years.
What did you teach?
I taught everything from special ed to gifted and talented. I taught kinder to high school. I turned alternative campus to traditional campus. So I was kind of got the breadth and the depth of it.
Also, I was born in San Marcos, so I'm very familiar with that area. My dad went to Southwest Texas, now Texas State.
Absolutely. So that's where my wife and I met.
Oh, excellent.
Texas State.
Y'all might have been there at the same time. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, so you were a teacher for 10 years, and then tell us about your real estate career, because that's where this ties in, too, because you can relate to us as realtors in our association.
Right. No, I kind of got to my end of the teaching career where I'd been and was asked to join the Jim Berry Ranch sales team up in Burnett, and I did that in 2005 and was really feeling successful and doing a great job. And then the market crash of 2008 hit. And as I told your committee, people were not buying ranches anymore because that's not a necessity. Right. And I struggled till about late 2010, early 2011, and I just couldn't make it anymore. My expenses were outpacing my commissions, which weren't much. And I started networking through my Rotary Club, and one of the Rotarians said, I want you to apply for the Boys and Girls Club, since he knew I was a teacher and had been a camp director before. His wife was on the board, and they were looking for the replacement for the executive director at the time. I applied, and 3 months later, I had the job.
Wow. And what camp were you with? You said
I was with Camp Stewart.
Camp Stewart.
It's a boys' camp west of Hunt, which is a town west of Kerrville.
Yes, I'm very familiar. We did family reunions in Hunt, so I'm familiar with that area. So you applied, and you got the job, and you were thrown into the fire, right?
I was thrown into the fire. Well, my predecessor...
What year was that, by the way?
That was in 2012.
2012.
January 16th of 2012. And they had been without an executive director for probably about 4 months. I remember it vividly. I went to the board meeting. They voted me in officially, and one of the directors walked me down to my office and said, here's your key, here's your desk, good luck. And that was about the total of my training. So I had to learn on the go pretty fast. But I will say that first year was a little challenging. But by the time I got into a year and a half or 2 years, it became clear that this is where I needed to be. And now I'm starting my 14th year. And don't plan on changing.
Yeah, doesn't it feel awesome to feel at peace at where you are, and that you're giving back, and that you're in your sweet spot?
Yes, absolutely. And it's interesting. I tell people that I've had 37 different jobs since I was a paper boy in San Antonio, but this is the first job that in 13 years I've never woken up and said, I don't want to go to work. And it's almost eerie in the sense that in what I'm doing today, from each of those previous jobs, I learned something that led up to what I'm doing today.
That's great. That was a question I was going to have, is how those past experiences prepared you for this leadership role.
Yeah, well, I mean, even my time, when I was in real estate, whether we're doing leases or MOUs or looking at renting out the facility, what commercial rates are, whatever. So, I mean, I still use some of those skills today as well.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about what the Boys and Girls Club mission is in this area, because we've seen all the commercials. The NFL is a big proponent of the Boys and Girls Club nationally,
Right.
and we see other parties that really promote it heavily. So tell us about your mission. What do you do on a day-to-day basis?
Simply, we take care of kids when they're not in school. So that's either after school, early release, spring break, Thanksgiving, and certainly during the summer, where they have a welcoming, safe place to develop relationships. During the school year, it's academics, it's getting their homework done Monday through Thursday. We're not a tutoring center, but for about 30 minutes, we get the homework done. That helps the parents, helps the child, because of course they have a better homework grade, which means they're more likely to pass. And what we're looking, our main goal when it deals with school is that we're looking for a trajectory for graduation, because we know that's the quickest way out of poverty for some of these kids.
And from what I read on your website, you help over 250 kids. You work in 3 different counties and 4 different school districts in 1,900 square miles. Is that right?
That's right. We're just when you take in Llano ISD, Burnett ISD, and Marble Falls ISD, and you look at what their school districts are, which is what we consider our reach, we're at 1,907 square miles, which is a little smaller than the state of Delaware.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
What is the qualification for a child or a family to be a part of this program?
All they have to do is fill out an application. And parents and the children sign an agreement that they're going to follow the rules, that the parents are going to be responsible for this or this. But, I mean, our motto is basically we don't turn any child away.
That's great.
And that's pretty much been the foundation, I think, since the beginning of the Boys and Girls Club movement, going all the way back to 1860.
Tell us about that. How did it start?
It started, there were 2 sisters and a friend of theirs in Hartford, Connecticut. They didn't like seeing young boys on the street in the winter without shoes. And so they would bring them into their home, they would clothe them, they would feed them, they would educate them, teach them right from wrong, usually through scripture. And then by the time they were 12 or 13, in those days, that was a man. And they would help them find a job, usually in a farm or a factory. That idea spread up to 1905. There were 32 organizations from Chicago and out on the eastern seaboard, and they came together and formed the Federated Boys Club. And that grew into the Boys Club of America, and it wasn't until 1990 that it officially became Boys and Girls Club of America.
And how long has this particular nonprofit organization been in the Highland Lakes?
25 years.
25 years.
Yes, we started 1999. Took 3 years to complete the building we're in at the corner of Avenue Q and Broadway.
In Marble Falls?
In Marble Falls. During that process, it didn't take long for Burnett to get jealous. They wanted their own club,
right.
But because of the proximity of the 2 towns, Boys and Girls Club of America said, you just need to be part of the Highland Lakes Club. So they came on in 2004, and then Kingsland came on board 2017. Llano, we started in 2019.
And where do they meet?
Burnett is in a city-owned building by Wallace Riddell Park.
Okay.
In Kingsland, we're in Paxsaddle Elementary. And then in Llano, we are in what they call the old gym, which is the old gymnasium behind the admin office.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. And so is there a fee involved?
There is. As I said earlier, we don't try not to turn children away. Our fee is $25 per month per family.
Oh, wow.
So
So
not
if you
per
have
child.
6 kids, 7 kids?
That's right. This can
Wow.
be $25. In the summer, we do charge a little bit more, but primarily because we double our staff and we triple our hours. We go from 3.5 hours to 10.5 hours. So
They're
for
not
the
in
cost
school.
of,
And
yeah,
they
they're
have
not in
places to go.
school, and we're serving 2 meals and a snack. And the field trip. So the summer cost is $175 inclusive for the whole summer. But again, that's just per family,
Per
not
family.
per child. So you have 6 kids, it's going to be $175.
Absolutely. And you know, you think about what we called latchkey kids, where you used to come home from school and your parents were still at work, and so you got a key and you went home and you were there, and you didn't know if your kids were doing their homework or what they're getting into trouble. And so to have a safe place Tell us exactly what happens when they get off the bus or they walk over. I know one of the schools is really close to your facility, so
Right.
sometimes they walk over.
Yeah.
So what happens as soon as they enter your facility?
Well, first thing they're going to check in, so we know exactly who's there at any time. Then they're going to get a meal, not a snack. So it's going to have your protein, your vegetable, your fruit, your whole grain, and your milk. Get that done. Monday through Thursday, you're going to do about 30 to 45 minutes, what we call power hour or power half hour. Then after that, it's just being a kid. Whatever we can do to make it fun, so they come back again, get that meal, get that homework done.
Board games, playing outside, chess club you mentioned earlier.
Well, and Marble Falls has a gymnasium, so we do a lot of stuff there. And outside playground. Burnett, we've got a really nice sport court, and then the park across the street. So do a lot of outside stuff. You were talking about latchkey kids, and I'm not trying to judge your age, but there are a lot more temptations today for latchkey kids than there were for sure
We
when
didn't have
I
the
was
internet back
no, and we didn't have smartphones. We didn't have game stations. Well, I didn't, but so that's what we call the mitigation factor. When the kids are with us, they're not on the couch eating Cheetos on their devices. They're moving, they're eating healthy, hopefully becoming healthy individuals.
So let me ask you a question. How many of the families are single parent families?
I would say close to, on average for all four sites, about 40%. Okay. 2023, Marble Falls, 61% of the kids were from single parent house. That's fallen off last year to, I believe, like 49%. That's a lot. And, I tell people how important just that meal is at the club. You and I experienced going to the grocery store, and it's like, ow. You can imagine a single mother.
Eggs are like worth the price of gold now.
Yeah, I know. But you can imagine a single mother of 3 or 4 that's working 24 hours at Whataburger or whatever, what she feels when she goes into the grocery store to try to purchase stuff.
We were just at the Helping Center, another great nonprofit in the area, and Sam Pierce, the director, was telling me about how much food they get on a daily basis from their truck deliveries from Capillary Food Bank, and it's gone within a day and a half. And they also have a chart he showed me, and that's another day, another podcast. But I know the need is great, and what y'all provide helps kids have purpose. They have an intentional schedule until their parents get off of work.
That's right.
What about the parents that work shift work and it's not typical 8 to 5? How are they serviced best in this environment? I mean, do they, because if their parents, let's say, go to work at 6 in the evening, is there a grandparent that comes, how does...
Well, typically we'll have an aunt or an uncle.
Okay.
We're blessed to have the relationship that we do with all of our school districts, but particularly Burnett and Marble Falls, because they provide actual bus transportation.
Oh, great. Okay.
So they can get the kids there. Now, getting home, if the parents are busy at that time, usually they will assign, and we have to have that information to be able to release the child,
Sure.
An uncle, an aunt, a grandparent, a neighbor, or whatever.
How are y'all funded, Bill? Where's your...
95% is going to be what I call private. Now, that could be the Highland Lakes Association of Realtors. That could be a church. That could be the Hill Country Community Foundation. It comes from private people and businesses at our fundraisers or just individual giving throughout the year. A question they get asked of me a lot, and possibly your viewers might think, that we get a large amount of money from Boys and Girls Club of America, when in fact we pay Boys and Girls Club of America $4,000 a year to be a Boys and Girls Club, to be a chartered member of the organization. It's kind of like being a franchisee, if you will.
Right. So how do they help you on a national basis? Is it just awareness?
Well, it's awareness, it's marketing, it's networking together with other clubs. Each club has what's called a director of operational development. It's there to help you navigate the club. We have membership requirements that we have to upkeep, and we have a research and development department that will help us with fundraising. And if we have a question about human resources, that we might have an issue that we need to go to them that might be above us. So there is a value back. We're not just throwing $4,000.
Yeah, you would hope that's the case, but that's good. Right. Tell us about the model. You mentioned this in our committee meeting earlier, that you have a model, and one of the things is healthy lifestyle,
Right.
Academics, what's the third?
Good character. So basically, anything that we do at the club, I tell people, you could put into 3 different file folders. One is academics, and that can be homework and making sure that they're getting their work done, tutoring, stuff like that. Healthy lifestyles, that can be the food that we serve or the programs that we do to help them avoid unhealthy lifestyles. And the third one is good character and citizenship. And I'll often get the question, well, what about the playground? Well, that's good character and citizenship because you have to share. You have to cooperate. You have to communicate. Yes, that's right.
Even as adults, we got to do the same thing.
And it kind of brings up a point that I didn't share with the committee. We are a device-free environment. So when the kids are at the club, no one will have a cell phone out.
That'd be hard for realtors, I'm not going to lie.
Well, no. And it's hard for some of the kids and hard for some of the parents. Quick story, when we decided to do this, word got out via social media, and I had 2 reporters from 2 different papers saying, aren't the parents going to be complaining that you don't let them have food? And I said, no, I think they're going to be happy. And sure enough, all these complaints came in from parents. I'm so glad you make my child put the phone away during the club time. And they actually have to communicate and talk.
Like it was meant to be. Like
yes,
we were supposed to be doing.
That's what you're supposed to be raised.
Relational relationships. It's sometimes lost in our society right now, especially in the younger generations that grew up with a device in their hand when they were at the restaurant because their parents don't want them to cry at the dinner table in front of all the other people. So there's an iPad right there.
And the newest research is saying that, if the child receives a smartphone before the age 16, we are doing them a lot of harm. And so if we can just get them off that screen time for 2 hours and have to communicate.
I gave mine with one before 16.
But
we're it's cool when your kids start self-regulating their own screen time, and that's been an amazing blessing for my kids. So back to your organization. How many people in your organization are made up of volunteers versus full-time and part-time staff?
We have 3 full-time staff. Probably 3 in the 22 to 27 hour a week range, and then the rest are, which right now we're at 22, 23 employees. Now that will grow to almost 40 employees when we get to summer.
That's your prime time.
That is. That's when because you got employees covering 8 hours. We can't let them go over 40 hours a week. So you have employees covering 8 hours, but then we still have 2.5 hours in the day. So we're working in shifts throughout the day. To be sure we have enough staff. We have a strict regulation of a 1 to 20 ratio. So one staff to 20 quid does not exceed that. And in many situations, you'll have a 1 to 5, a 1 to 6, 1 to 8. Now, in all fairness, we may have 40 kids, 2 staff. One strong staff member may have 25 in the gym, while another one has 15 in the game room. But in total, in combined, it's a 1 to 20 staff ratio.
Okay. That's good to know. That's helpful information. Segue into summer, which is your busy time. One of the things that the Highland Lakes Association of Realtors partners with regarding the Boys and Girls Club is we do a raffle every year. Over 6 years we've been doing this raffle. We sell $20 tickets where you can win a Yeti cooler full of Miller's Meats, other product, maybe a day on the lake. We don't know what it's going to be this year, but that's going to be rolled out probably late May, early June. We'll be selling raffle tickets for $20 each or 6 for $100. And so if you hear from one of us out there, we're going to be talking to you about raising money. Typically, on average, we raise about $5,000 a year.
Yeah.
Over $33,000 for the last 6 years through the Highland Lakes Association of Realtors. And we're so glad to be a part of that. That's our ComReach committee. A shout out to them who helps us with selling those tickets. You talked about earlier in our meeting about the value that a dollar given to your organization brings back to the community. Can you share a little bit more?
I can. This was a study the University of Michigan originally did in 2016, taking a lot of data that we had given them, the cost it takes parents to come to the club, what it costs to operate the club, and how lean we are in what we do. And they crunched all these numbers, and what they came back with in 2016 is every dollar invested returns to your community $9.60. Or about 960% return on investment. That's pretty good.
That's the national average.
That's a national average. Now, they recently redid that study. We sent them the new data and whatever numbers they used to crunch. They came back and said that figure is now $10.32 But
Wow.
wait,
Wait, there's
this
more.
year, yeah, wait, this year they segregated it by state as well. $1 invested in a Boys and Girls Club in Texas returns $12.26
That's
in
amazing.
value to your community.
And I knew some of these numbers before I asked the question, but I did a little quick calculation. If we take $30,000 over the course of 6 years,
Yeah.
with that $12.26 number, we're over $367,000 in the value just from what our organization was able
Absolutely.
to donate.
Yeah.
So over $250,000. Thank you for all that bought those raffle tickets and supported the organization that is the Boys and Girls Club of the Highland Lakes. I want to give you a chance as we wrap up here, Bill, to share about some upcoming fundraisers that you have in the next few months.
I do. I have two coming up. One is in Horseshoe Bay on April 17th from 5:30 to 7. And then I have one coming up on May 1st in Vernon at the Reed Building. Same time. It's what we call our 30-30 event. It is 30 kids, 30 futures. We have 30 bios of these kids that are real kids that have real futures. And we actually give people the opportunity to sponsor them for the whole year, connect with them, because if they sponsor the child, they're going to get correspondence from them and they can go visit them. And as I told the committee members, I want to call it 30-30-30 because it's 30 kids, 30 futures. We get it done in 30 minutes. So if you like an event where you can come in, have a glass of wine or tea and a nice hors d'oeuvre and have a program that's 30 minutes and go home, that's our place. But if you can't and you would like to support us, then you can always go to our website. And the quickest way to get there is seeyouattheclubs.com.
seeyouattheclubs.com. Right. Tell us about the event where you're sponsoring a particular child and how that story.
Right. And that's the 30-30. And so once you choose, or if you are so moved, then you go up and there is a actual 3x5 poster with all of the kids' names on it. And if you choose a child, you get to go up with a big red Sharpie and you sign your name on them, and then you will immediately get a thank you. And then you'll get 2 letters during the year and a Christmas card. And I tell people, if you're not to the point where you want to sponsor a child, the event is free. There's no expectation. Come and celebrate those that can.
Absolutely.
And be there to see all of these kids being matched with generous people.
I remember, it reminds me of when I was in college at Baylor, Sickle Bears, and I had the opportunity to sponsor a child through Compassion International.
Oh, yeah.
And wrote letters back and forth.
Yeah.
And I did it for a long time, and I pray that that child grew up to be someone very industrious and gives back to their community. And we hope the same here for your kids. Tell us, we've got a few more minutes left, but any success stories of kids that have come up in the program that have come back to share what they're doing now and kind of how they're giving back?
Not that I've met. And we did have a child come into the Marble Falls facility. They asked to come in to see it, and they said, well, I was at this club 9 years ago or whatever, and I was a handful. But Miss Crystal, who was the unit director there, for some reason she connected with me and she got me to change the person that I was. And I just wanted to come in. All the kids will paint the tiles, and he wanted to come in and see if his tile was still up there. Okay. And before he left, Nancy, who was working the counter that day, said, well, where are you now? He said, well, I'm in Houston. I'm currently a welder, but next month I'm opening my own welding company.
Awesome. What a great story.
And followed up with Kristen. She said, yeah, he probably would have ended up in jail if he didn't come to the club. And now he's going to start his own welding company.
That's a great story. Yeah. And it just shows how much you pour into their lives.
Oh, yeah.
So that they can leave productive lives and give back to the communities in which they live. Thank you for sharing that, Bill. If you want to be a part, again, seeyouattheclubs.com.
Yes, sir.
The 30-30 event coming up. Our raffle tickets will be on sale starting sometime end of May or June. So make sure you buy a lot of those so we can outpace what we've done in the past. We're so thankful to partner with this organization that does so much for our boys and girls in the Highland Lakes community. Thank you for watching this podcast. We appreciate your time. We know it's valuable. And go check out all the other ones that everyone else did. And thank you, Bill Drake, for being here, sir.
Thank you. And thank you to the association.
Absolutely. Happy to help.